it's Sharon here. Welcome back to my channel for those who are returning, and welcome to any new subscribers that may be visiting for the first time. So I have a little bit of a different project today. I've been watching a few creatives on YouTube, and today's video is a little bit of a chicken or the egg came first project. So I've been watching Artymaze and one of her recent cluster making videos, and I really want to sit down and make some clusters. But I've also been thinking about ephemera storage. As always, supplies start to grow and they start to take over, and I feel very fortunate that I have plenty to play with, but I need a way of coming up with a storage solution that will suit my needs. More so for my design team pieces at this stage. So I've been very busily fussy cutting some kits from Junk with Steph, and I have a fabulous collection, but they're kind of spread over a couple of different areas in my craft room. And doing Roxy's weekly challenge, I've come to realize that part of the reason I'm not as quick, well, it's just part of my nature, but the other reason I'm not as quick is because I don't have everything in the one spot. I've got lots of little storage containers. I do have next to me a trolley, and I've got a couple of baskets on top that's got little bags with my fussy cutting that kind of look like this. And when you're creating, especially when you're creating in a hurry, it's really difficult to actually see what is what in those bags when they're all jam-packed into a little storage bin. So that being said, I've been looking at ephemera storage, and I came across a video by, I'm just checking my notes because I wouldn't remember. I came across a video by Le Cafe Craft, and it's called DIY Ephemera Storage / Neverending Storage Book. And she got the idea from Al John, and Le Cafe Craft has tagged Al John's YouTube channel in that video. I will put the links for those channels in the description below this video. Anyway, so I wanted to come in here and make some clusters, and then I was like, how am I going to store them? It's one more thing on my desk. And I've done a little bit of thinking over the last day or two, and I've decided I want to try this idea for the ephemera storage, which between you and I will make some for my ephemera, and I'm not sure I will do it on camera, but I want to make something similar to store my clusters. So I have this encyclopedia cover here. It's a children's Britannica, and it's covered in contact, and I did start to take the contact off, and I may just lift where I can. It's very brittle in places, and I was going to try and take it off the whole cover, but I've come to realize that it's rather well attached to the front, and I'm not sure it's worth me continuing to fuss with it too much. But I am going to take it off the inside here as best I can. So I have no idea if this idea will work, and ironically there's been part of the process that just hasn't been gelling for me. Like I said, I've been stewing over this, thinking about it for a couple of days now, and I really wanted to come in here and start putting this idea together, but I just couldn't quite figure out my last piece of the puzzle. And literally moments before I've turned the camera on today, I had a light bulb moment, and I thought to myself, oh, I think that could work. And it was the most simple solution, honestly. Sometimes things can stare us in the face and just not be obvious. So anyway, so I'm going to give it a go, and I'm going to show you what I'm up to as I attempt this. It's kind of a watch and discover whether I get it right or wrong. and we'll see where this takes us. So just removed that. Now I have split the spine when I took the pages out of the book. So I've got my mixed media scissors here from Fiskars, and I'm hoping I can just cut down. I can see where the board, the chipboard in the cover comes to, so I'm just cutting down. I did question whether I should use my Stanley knife for this. I have extra layers with the, it's got like a bookbinding tape inside, almost like it's been repaired. So I'm going to see if I can remove, I might keep that, that's kind of yummy. Could be fun in my mixed media that I plan on playing with. So I hope you're all fabulous. I am feeling rather inspired at the moment on a few different levels, and there's some exciting things to come. So I really want to share with you, but it's a process to have an idea and to get that. Sorry, this is just really the what do you call it? The spine was getting in the way of my hand, or my hand was getting in the way of the spine. So I may need to tidy that up, but that's one side of my cover, and then the second side I'm actually going to hoping I can tear this. It's not looking like I can. Oop, there we go. Fabulous. And hoping I can do the same with this here. Okay. And then I'm turning it over so I can see, if you can see the ridge here, that's kind of what I'm trying to follow to cut. My scissors are very bulky to get in here, that's why I'm struggling. Here we go. Okay, so I'm not going to keep that spine because it's covered in the contact. Contact was great in the day. I know my mum covered a lot of our books in contact. But doing what I'm doing now, it kind of makes me sad when I see them covered in contact because, well, as you see, it doesn't come away easily, which was the reason behind it, was to protect the books. Well, it certainly does that, but now that I don't want my book protected, I'm just like, oh, I wish this wasn't covered. But anyway, we're going to make it fabulous. So, just wondering. I might glue that down, I think. I've got 1,000 different glue bottles here because a lot of my glues, I think I mentioned in a previous video, they're getting close to being finished. So this is just fabric glue. I'm just going to glue this down again. And I'm going to cover these. So I need to tidy up this edge. doesn't really need to be perfect. I'm kind of planning on covering it with paper. Oh, I did consider fabric. No, I think I'll use paper. Part of the reason I want to use paper is because I'd like to use paper that relates to the digital artist that I'm on the design team for. So in this case, it will be Junk with Steph. Well, actually, if this is, no, just a moment. If this is my snippet, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm thinking I'm making my ephemera folder, but I'm not. I'm making a cluster folder. So I think I will do this one in fabric because that will make it stand out separate to my ephemera folders. Good idea. It's very hard to get a straight edge across there with that contact. But if I cover it in fabric, it should be fine. Just trying to take away those little jaggedy edges. And of course, I'm sure some of you who've been watching for a while will know what fabric I will choose to cover these in. That's not too bad, I don't think. I just want to see if they're even. And they are. Fabulous. Okay, so that is the messy part done. Just going to empty this off. Into my bin now. So fabric, has anybody guessed yet? Okay, so I have my beloved calico here, and this is a long strip that I have torn away, so it should, yes, be big enough this way. So I want enough to cover the whole thing, and I'm just going to use that then as a template to do my next one. I haven't decided whether I will do this video. There's going to be some steps that require some drying time, so I haven't decided whether I'll do this in a two-part or more series, or whether I will just video the whole process and then put it together in the editing part of getting the video ready for you and upload it all at once. But it does kind of depend on how long the process overall takes as well, so, or the videoed process, the parts that I video for you. Okay, so I'm just removing any loose threads, and I just have this little container at the moment where I pop all of my loose threads into. Just sits nearby, so I can just do that at a reach. Okay, and then one at a time. So this is my back cover, and I'm pretty sure once I have these covered, I won't know which is the back and which is the front. Okay, so you can see, I'm hoping you can see, I've got some very jagged areas from the contact where it has become quite brittle, and I've tried to lift it, but I'm hoping that once I have covered this in fabric, it's really not going to matter. And this cover, it was completely wiped down by me before starting this video, so okay, so a nice coverage of glue, and just burnishing that down. I have a little pull in my fabric. You shouldn't do that, but I did. Okay, so I'm now going to just cut my corners, not all the way to the corner. So I'm leaving about 1/4 of an inch, roughly, give or take. I have things on my desk to my right, so that was the sound of my elbow bumping into some papers. Okay. And from there, just want to see, so roughly to where the paper is that has been pulled away, and I am going to run some glue along that edge. Okay. Now I don't know if you can see there's some red that's come off of the cover where the contact has been pulled away. That is the main reason I decided not to continue pulling the contact off, was because I've come across red books before from days gone by, and the red covers, for some reason, whatever pigment was used in them to colour them seems to come away. So I decided it was because the contact was likely to pull part of the cover off, I decided it was better to leave the contact on there. Okay, so this is just a silicone makeup brush that I'm using just to spread the glue out. I find that it's less likely to seep through the fabric if I spread it out with this brush before pulling my fabric across. Oops. Okay, so about there. Oops, helps to open it. I'm just really excited to get this project underway. So again, I've got a little bit of a jagged edge there from the contact. Not fussing too much. This project is for me to have in my craft room, so I'm not too concerned about that edge, and the fabric will help to protect it. Okay, so I'm folding in those edge pieces, pulling in from the center and then working my way out. And so the idea of this project is that I will be able to have somewhere to store my little clusters once they're made, where I can easily access them to use. Oops, I forgot to close you. Sticky situation. Okay. So if anybody follows Andrea or Artymaze, which I'm sure everybody that watches my channel does because she's amazing, you will have seen her make her clusters before and how she stores them. So I'm kind of taking that idea one step further and giving them a home, basically. I've made them following her process before, and I really, really love the way she does them and how she stores them on the greaseproof paper, or baking paper as we call it here. But I tend to have that laying around then after that and not really sure where I can put it to store it until I need it next. So that's what I'm hoping to solve with this project. And anything that helps my organization is a huge bonus. Okay. I am getting some glue seepage through the fabric. I'm not stressing about that too much. I have put a fair bit of glue on here because of the contact. Just want to make sure that everything is stuck down really well. Okay. Just want to snip a tiny piece off. Okay, so that is our back, and I might mark that with a B for back. I think it goes around that way. So I have got some seepage coming through the fabric here. I can feel it. I can also see it. I don't know whether you can see it as well, but that's okay. I'm not really looking for perfection for this project. Now my second one. So I may what I might do is I might mark this with an F so I know that's the right way up. And then, oops, I nearly did the wrong side. And I haven't removed my phrase. Okay, don't think that's too bad. And that's the right way around. Oops. Okay, so just removing my corners again. Probably have a little too much on this side. Okay. Okay, so there we have our covers finished. Very, very simple, very, very plain. You could cover yours with a pattern fabric, you could do it with paper, you can do it with whatever you like. And we're ready to do the inside pages. So just cleaning up my mat a little bit. So I'm going to set those to the side, really happy with the way they feel. And from there, we're taking some file folders to make our pages for the inside. So these are all pre-loved file folders, and I'm going to cut them to size. Okay, so I've decided that the best way to trim this off is to use my ruler and my Stanley knife. These are quite large file folders, and they don't quite fit in my paper trimmer. So that wasn't straight, but that's okay. So I have one. Okay, so I haven't decided exactly how big I want the pages in here. It actually looks like that would be a good size. What about that? I think I may cut them that way because I could potentially get 2 pages per file folder, and I'm going to cover them over with something else anyway, so I will need to straighten up this edge here. Well, actually both this edge and this edge. I want to take a little bit off, so okay, I'm not exactly sure how wide I want this, so I'm going to say 6 5/8, or do I want 6 1/4? I might do it 6 1/4. That will give me room for the joins, I think. Okay, so I want to tidy up that edge, folding it over, and I'm going to go 1/4. And again at 6 1/4. And then I want to tidy up the edge, and I'm just going to cut this in half. Okay, so it's too long. I need to work out how big I want it. So I'm going to say 9 1/2. And I'll see what that looks like. Which probably works well because it takes that curved bottom off of the file folder. I think I'm pretty happy with that. So I need to tidy up this top edge. Remembering that it's doubled over, so I needed to make sure that my bottom piece was across this line. And then I think it was 9 1/2. Yes. Oops. Okay. So 6 1/4. And 6 1/4. Removing the uneven edge at the top. And these are not as big. Okay, so that one won't work because it's not as tall. Which is great because I wasn't sure how many pages to put in here, so that narrows it down. Okay, 6 1/4. Straighten up that top edge. Then at 9 1/2. Just looking for my bone folder. Okay. then we should have a lovely number of pages now. They're not exactly even, but when I join them, that will hide that up, so I'm not particularly concerned about that. Okay, so I have this double-sided tape from Portercraft. I just picked it up in my local bargain buys, and I'm going to cover the edges with these front and back. And you don't have to do this, you could just use your fabric glue, which I'm going to use in the center, but this will make sure that my papers are, or I'm attaching card to this. I want these to be like board weight when I'm done, so I have some lightweight craft board that I'm going to adhere on the front and the back, and this will make sure I have joins right up to the edges. So I'm going to go ahead and do this all the way around, and I will pop back when I am finished. Okay, so all finished. I used practically a whole roll of tape to do those, and from there I'm going to make sure I burnish all of that tape down really well on every piece, on every side. Okay, so they are our pages so far, and you can see I have quite a few pages for the book itself. I probably don't need as many, but I'm going to, I think, go ahead and use all of them anyway. Doing this and putting it together finally, I'm kind of thinking of how I want to use it. Now, it doesn't seem like a lot there, but I'm actually going to cover them front and back with a card. So I have this craft card here, and I'll need quite a number of pieces, but I think it's going to be totally worth it. So it will bulk up my book. Or do I want to perhaps just do paper? So I can't do... No, I think I'm going to stick with my initial thought. Yes, I'd like a plain background. So I'm going to stick with the card. I'm going to do one of these front and back. I'm just hoping I have enough cardstock, but I can always reduce the number of pages if I run out. So I will show you one and then I will continue the rest off camera. So going to use my fabric glue, and this bottle is getting very low, so it's probably a good thing for you that I'm going to do most of them off camera. It's a little bit tedious when the bottle gets low. Okay, so I'm going to add fabric glue along the inside of where my double-sided tape is, all the way around, and then that's getting really, really low and really, really slow. So I'm going to grab a new bottle because it'll just make it that much quicker. It's like magic with a new bottle. Okay, and I forgot to lift my tape on this one. Usually I do that before I get the glue down, so and I'm not sure where oh, there it is. This isn't what I usually use, but this will serve my purposes very well, I hope. So I usually just lift my corners up and fold them over like that. And then position this over the card to line up my edges. Okay, and then I can just, oops, and that didn't work very well. I can just remove my tape and stick that down, and it's usually, I can usually manage to get it really close to the edge by doing that without fussing too much. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to turn that over and I'm going to burnish. And because I'm videoing and I don't want to muck around with scissors, I'm going to use my paper trimmer. And just trim off the excess. I'm not throwing away those scraps because I will use them elsewhere. Now, I usually use this, the all works really well, but I find this Cricut tool really helpful for lifting the tape because it has this bent edge, and I really just lift them so that they're hanging over the edge of paper. All the way around. Okay, and then adding more glue on this side. You can add as much or as little fabric glue as you'd like. You could possibly use a glue stick, although I want a really solid adherent, so that's why I've chosen the fabric glue. And I've made other things in my craft room using this method, and they've stayed together really, really well. So okay, again, I find the fabric glue allows me a little bit of wiggle room. As well, which I really like. And then the double-sided tape really locks it into place once you remove the protective coating. Okay, and again, finishing that down. That's given me a really nice firm, it's a board thickness, but it's not overly thick. So I think it'll work really well. And again, I am going to use my paper trimmer. And just trim that down. Didn't quite get that straight. May need to tidy that with the scissors, but it's not too bad. And of course the fabric glue is still wet, so it'll be a lot firmer again once that dries. So that is one page. I did trim into the edge there accidentally. That is one page completed front and back. I'm going to go ahead and do the others. Okay, so I finished gluing all of my pieces of card to my file folder, and I wanted to show you where I'm at. So something I forgot to mention was that the first and last pieces of file folder, you don't need to glue anything to one side. So I've only done one side of both the front and the back piece. And I have 5 additional pages, so 5 middle pages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a front and a back. So the back doesn't have anything on the underside either. Now, I did have extra pieces because I really wasn't sure how many pages I wanted to pop into my book. And I have those here. I do actually have another 5 here. So what I'm thinking I might do is create another 2 and use those as the front and the back. So I would only need to cover one side, and I essentially have myself another book, which I may end up making my ephemera folder with those. So this one here will be for my clusters. So the next thing I have to do is to seal my pages, and so I'm going to use the Mod Podge and seal one of them and see if I'm happy with that. So the idea of sealing it is to be able to stick something to it to hold a piece of baking paper over the top, and I'm thinking either a sticky tape or a washi tape or even a piece of blue tack. And I think the Mod Podge will seal it enough to be able to do that. So I'm going to seal one of them. I will put 2 coats on each side and see if I'm happy with that. And from there I will decide whether I stick with that or whether I use a lacquer. Now the lacquer that I have that I'm talking about is actually the same lacquer that I use to seal my desk. So it's a hardware lacquer. but I'm quite sure that I'll be able to stick things to that and it won't be an issue. But I think the Mod Podge will be enough, and I'd like to try that because I believe that it is what most crafters will have in their supplies. So I will seal and I will show you once I've finished. I'm really excited. I'll see you soon. So I'd like to thank you all for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you all soon, everybody. Please stay safe, stay inspired, and happy crafting. I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.